I really did not get any sleep last night. Thanks no small part to those bastards down there drilling at 9 fucking a.m. like they're being paid to do it. Man, it should be illegal. I should kill them. But anyway, I feel so fucking tired. It's just getting worse. But I can't sleep yet because then it'll really fuck me up, my sleep cycle. Anyway, something about the video today. My planned video today was something about how I think I came up with this while I was drunk. So I think it's perfect to do in this particular headspace. It was something about how, like, I was thinking, like, oh, you see all these cyberpunk media, like, oh, people going around, like, but wearing VR goggles and stuff, right? Like in public, and how no one actually does that in real life, even though we live in the cyberpunk era. But no one actually wears VR goggles in real life, not outside. And maybe, who can say, maybe in the future it'll become commonplace. But somehow I doubt it. I think removing that level of sensory input would put people, make them feel too vulnerable, and they might not want to do it. But who can say? Maybe I'm wrong. AR seems more likely. But either way, I was thinking about that and like how VR goggles are supposed to be the cyberpunk thing, but no one wears VR goggles. And then I realized we basically have a similar version of VR goggles that we do see people wearing every damn day. And that's these bastards, headphones. You can tell I was drunk when I came up with this idea, right? Headphones are basically VR goggles in the way that they're shit in the same way that VR goggles are shit. And that is, the VR is not really VR. VR is virtual reality, right? But just wearing a headset isn't really actually a virtual reality. It's just visual input. So I called it verisimilitudinous input, or verisimilitudinous visual input. It's just, I love using that. It's one of my favorite words, verisimilitudinous. It means a plausible simulation of reality. And yeah, it's not actually sending you to a virtual reality, because that would be way more detailed and we would be way less limited. Whereas VR goggles, they're really just giving you visual input that's close enough to the visual input you get in your day-to-day life that you can just sort of suspend your disbelief in a sense and accept it as real, authentic visual input from an actual 3D space. But it's not actually virtual reality, because it's well, firstly, what is reality? Like, how is the virtual reality in a 3D crafted environment wearing a headset any particularly different from the virtual reality of looking at a screen? They're both virtual realities. They're both created realities. And in the same way that you can put headphones on and be immersed in a musical experience, even though you're not actually experiencing reality as you're not in the middle of a band playing the song that you're listening to, or you can be listening to a podcast and it's like you're virtually in the same room as someone else. And so that's the basic idea, is like, haha, isn't that a funny little weird way to think about headphones, that they're kind of like VR goggles for your ears, except I suppose if they were VR goggles for your ears, they would have like some sort of sensor in them to tell where you're looking, so that the sound would always be coming from the same place. But I feel like that would be whack. I feel like that wouldn't be good at all. So I don't want that. I just like headphones the way they work. I don't like people who don't like headphones. I like headphones. Big fan of headphones. Big fan of making music on headphones. Big proponent of that. Big lots of things today. Lots of big. Yeah, don't like making music on speakers. Always use headphones. I like headphones. It's like a virtual reality visor for your ears. That's basically what the difference is. There we go. To phrase this in another way, you could say that virtual reality headsets are just headphones for your eyes. They're just headphones for your eyes. People are freaking out like, oh, this is the future of gaming. It's literally just headphones for your eyes. It's not virtual reality. It's just verisimilitudinous visual input. In the same way that putting headphones on and listening to music is verisimilitudinous audio input. Except that, it's close enough that you don't really care. Stereo is not really the same thing as like proper surround sound. And even like, 6-point surround sound is not the same as actually being surrounded by sound. But it's close enough that we just accept stereo as, stereo is pretty much good enough to simulate reality. And so we just sort of accept it in the same way that like video games right now at least are not perfectly, what's the word I'm looking for? Photorealistic, and here's another thing, is that VR games shouldn't be photorealistic. They should just be realistic. Because photorealistic is trying to say it looks like a photograph. And that's why you have a lot of games that emulate cameras, with like lens flares and blurs. And like, there's some games where when you look up, you see the rain fall on the lens of the camera, even though obviously there's no camera there. That sort of stuff doesn't make sense in VR because your eyes aren't a camera. So yeah, something about that was the point of this video. A pretty brief one. I suppose that I don't really have anything more to say on the subject, other than I find the idea of thinking about those two things in that way to be kind of interesting and funny. Like thinking about headphones as a real life cyberpunk virtual reality headset for your ears, and thinking about how, the what's the fucking thing called, the valve thing? I don't remember I'm thinking about how a VR headset is actually just headphones for your eyes. I find that funny. We already live in virtual reality, my friend. We already live in virtual reality. Look all around yourself. None of this is real. Look at me on a screen. You're seeing my room virtually. Virtual representation of reality. It's all virtual reality, my friend. When you look, what do you see? You don't see reality. You see a filtered version of reality through your senses and through your brain interpretation of those senses. Reality isn't just in the visual spectrum of light. It stretches through the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Maybe if you actually saw real non-virtual reality, it would just be a raw quantum field, right? You just don't know. You will never experience it. All reality is virtual, and how can you be sure? It's kind of like the older is your red the same as my red type of qualia, the hard problem of consciousness, right? Where it's like everything you see is not only being processed by your brain, but it's also being interpreted by your brain. And so how can you be sure that like you can't really see non-virtualized reality? When you see an object, you process it as an object, even though in reality everything's just particles or whatever. So all reality is virtual, and the same way that if you want to be more specific, we don't call this isn't virtual reality for some reason, but when it's attached to your face, it suddenly becomes virtual reality. No, it's just the same thing with a simulated 3D effect. It's not virtual reality. It's just visual headphones. There you go. I hate VR, kind of. Actually, I kind of like it. I don't know why I said that. I kind of want my ideal setup would be to have goggles and then like a bunch of virtual monitors. But then at the same time, I feel like it'd be better to just have actual monitors. Like there's not really unless you were really limited by space. But monitors don't take up that much space. So yeah, I don't really see the point of that. I mean, it's kind of a neat idea, but I don't think it's necessary really. And the problem is that VR requires a lot of GPU power, right? Which I don't have. Although, due to VR, Apple started allowing external GPUs to be attached to their devices. I mean, I could even attach an external GPU to my ThinkPad if I wanted to, if I knew how the fuck to do that, which I don't. But I think that'd be kind of funny. Imagine a ThinkPad with a massive external GPU. I don't know what the latest GPU is, but imagine that. That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Yeah, VR's cool. I don't know. I've never really thought like, okay, if I wanted to say like, what do I? Oh well, if you're saying that uh those goggles aren't really VR, then what's VR? Well, it's actually what it is in cyberpunk media. If you read Neuromancer and stuff, it's like jacking in. They don't just put on goggles. They like plug something into their head and then their consciousness is transported. Now, I don't really believe that that's possible, but they call it a shared hallucination, right? In Neuromancer, I believe. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. If you've ever read the pretty good webcomic, which goes a little downhill, but is, I'd say, worth reading at least the first part of it, called Drugs and Wires. In that, they sort of treat VR as almost like a drug, where it's like people, because it's kind of like a new sensory experience, or it's an altered state of consciousness, much like drugs. A drug's virtual reality, when you take salvia and you become a Lego piece for 2 million years before you come back to reality and only 7 minutes have passed, is that not the real virtual reality? I'll tell you, that is the real virtual reality. When you see spiders and Hatman comes, when the Hatman comes to you on DPH and you talk to the Hatman, is that not real virtual reality? Not the bullshit, not some fucking shit you cover your eyes with. That's real virtual reality, is giving yourself early onset dementia with massive copious amounts of diphenhydramine. That's the real virtual reality. Something like that. I don't fucking know. This is a stupid fucking video, but hey, listen, they can't all be winners. Oh, and also always remember that you and everyone you've ever known will die.